It is Wednesday, my dudes. Wednesday, my dudes.
And it is Wednesday once again, and we are back live here on the 12 Ounce Sports Network. And Randall is back in the I was gonna say studio. I guess we don't really have a studio, but I'm gonna say it.
My personal studio.
Yeah, we are each personal studio. So we are back, and if you got a chance, hopefully you still get a chance to go back and listen to our annual golf major preview with Mason. Always a good show we do annually before. Try to do it about like a month out before the Masters, as it's kind of starting to take that big swing. So I did make sure to give you a shout out if you didn't get a chance to hear that. You know, you had the Masters pick right, even though both of us did not. So
I'm a golf genius, Dom. I don't know what to tell you, but basically I eat, breathe, sweat, and bleed golf.
Oh yeah.
So
how many players do you think you can name that are current?
Oh, current. Max 5.
Okay.
Maybe. I feel like I'd name a few that like I thought were still playing, but aren't. Is Vijay Singh still golfing?
No.
Oh, okay. Maybe 4.
Fair enough. That's fine. That's fine. But you got the Masters right last year, so
bingo.
We'll get your pick here in the next 3-4 weeks, right before Masters again. We'll have you throw another one out there. See if you
for sure.
2 for 2 on it.
For sure.
So we are here, and we are starting our NFL off-season plan, as we always kind of do. We got division by division breakdown. We will take a show on each one, and we are starting with the NFC East breakdown. You know, we're going to split up the teams here. I have the football team and Eagles, and Randall will have the Giants and Cowboys. Yeah. So
I'm kind of sad that I missed the what was it? The NFC East? No, NFC West. Y'all already did.
Oh, we did not actually end up doing that.
Oh, what? I was unaware. I thought y'all did do the NFC West.
We were going to, but then there was a lot of free agent kind of moves starting to happen, so we kind of just got stuck rolling with all the things that were kind of breaking at that time, so we ended up getting side railed on it. So
well, in order to beat the draft on this one, we might have to double up a couple of weeks.
We will probably be doubling up. I think that is going to be happening. That's okay. Especially with a lot of moves, I think more moves than I thought expected already for the free agent.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a little bit slower. There's still definitely a lot of guys out there, but the Patriots moving quick.
Yeah, so when we get around to NFC East, I guess they kind of got themselves covered for the most part, other than what they should do in the draft.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, and with all the moves, I mean, I have all these written down in my notes, and now I'm like, well, some of them have.
Some of them have already happened.
Adjusted or happened, yeah. So we'll just kick right into it then, and maybe at the end, if we have a little time, we'll touch on any random other free agency news that maybe we can talk about, and also throw it out there. I did reactivate the We Talk Sports March Madness bracket.
Nice.
It's just free to join, just for fun, if you want to throw it out for a little competition. So I did remember to reactivate it today. So
awesome.
Public, no password. Just jump on in, throw a bracket, throw all the brackets in. I don't care. It's all for fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm ready. Yeah. I got my annual Texas wins it all bracket ready, and guess what? I'm feeling a little confident in that one this year. I'm feeling okay about it.
There
Big 12 champs for the first time in our program.
Yeah.
Pretty big.
Pretty good. So, yeah, join that group. So we'll dive right in. It is NFC East preview off season here, and I will start off with the division-winning football team. And I'm just going to dive right into the offense, as obviously we have a great defense. you kind of already made my job easy saying earlier, kind of obviously what the football team defense kind of looks like with adding William Jackson. That kind of was something I was initially looking at. Maybe one more DB, but yeah, Jackson, the Collins, Fuller, Young, Sweat, Payne, Allen, Ioannidis. That was a good throw into. I was putting that in there, but that's already a solid defense, and it's a Ron Rivera defense, so they're going to be pretty well coached on that end, and it's just the offense there. You have a good, very, very good weapon in McLaurin. Gibson did show some promise, but I do like Logan Thomas as a tight end, but that's just not something that's going to carry it over, especially with the kind of unknown at the QB position. So obviously that will be addressed here, but I'm going to start with just offensive weapons because one of my lists I said, well, I think there needs to be an addition in free agency and the draft. Just that depth of the wide receiver just needs to be pushed as much as you can. You can't have too many wide receiver weapons, especially right now. So, and kind of how NFL's playing. So, one of the free agent names I did list was Curtis Samuel. So that was kind of one of my top options I thought they could realistically get, and lo and behold, what about an hour ago, Schefter says Curtis Samuel's to the football team. So that kind of checks off one. I was kind of looking. I was like, I don't think they were really in the marketplace for Galladay. I didn't think that was realistic. I thought Curtis Samuels or Will Fuller. Hey, you already have a Fuller on your team, but I know Fuller's a little more injury prone. But I thought that Curtis Samuel would be a good add with McLaurin. I know they just want speed. It seems like is kind of what the direction they want to go. So when I was kind of looking at draft, not really knowing necessarily who they were going to get. I was kind of maybe looking at Tony or Bateman there with that kind of first round pick because they are in such an odd position where, as I'll touch on more on the QB, I don't think someone's going to be there in that first round. So do you just go ahead and grab that weapon that could be there, the Tony, the Moore, the Bateman? That's kind of very, I thought it was regardless intriguing because you can have one of those three rookies and you add it to Samuel and McLaurin there. That's a solid core that we were just looking at, the last couple of years where it was nothing. It was just a McLaurin and that's about it. You didn't really trust anyone else was going to be kind of a breakaway guy. So I still think that's a great route to go. I'm kind of maybe leaning Bateman a little more now, but I mean, you can't go wrong with more Tony or Bateman. So kind of all those options there just to add to that. I was thinking maybe as kind of talking about offensive weapons, if they can, maybe like a Kyle Rudolph type for the depth of the tight end position. Obviously, Logan Thomas was kind of coming in strong, was a very good option in their offense. I was just kind of thinking, someone that just kind of got cut, you could probably pick up on a cheap 1-2 year deal, just add more depth there, and just a veteran player who's been around long enough. I think that could just be a good add on that end. That's something you had pointed out that I was kind of looking at, as well as just maybe add another linebacker to that grouping. Ironically enough, I had Denzel Perryman. I thought would have been an interesting option, and there he goes to Carolina. So I was like, well, okay. And I'm just looking at that side of just kind of like one of those, just a solid linebacker. You don't need, like you said, just you were kind of saying it's just add into it. So I was actually thinking Perryman was actually my first listed option. So looking down, I kind of put maybe like a Manti Te'o or a Tahir Whitehead, just a solid veteran player. Nothing special. They're not, going to be your Pro Bowl linebacker. Just another guy to add to that depth who's been around, who can be a solid addition to the team.
Yeah, I think I'd like. I think they'd be good with I know I'm gonna butcher his last name, Patrick Onwuasor.
I was gonna actually ask you on that since he was a Saint.
Yeah, so, no. So he was Jets. He was Jets, okay, and then right before that, he had I think a couple of seasons with the Ravens where he actually filled in quite nicely in that linebacker position when they weren't quite finding which is now going to be Patrick Queen, but they hadn't quite found that guy to replace Ray Lewis yet, or C.J. Mosley really, because C.J. Mosley replaced him. But Patrick, and I'm not going to say his last name again because I don't want to try to butcher it. But I think he's a really reliable linebacker that's going to come pretty cheap, but but he's kind of like that guy that you're saying is just reliable, and going to be a Pro Bowl, but isn't going to break the bank either. So
yeah, I don't know why I confused him with Anzalone. That's what I was going to ask.
Oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't go with Anzalone. He's pretty injury prone, and B, he gives up a lot of bonehead plays. He flashes at times, but all in all, he's not that consistent.
Gotcha. Well, and then I had in the draft options if they didn't go that route, just some back middle kind of, as of right now, kind of looking like they're ranked in that middle tier rounds, maybe that 3, 4, 5. Moses from Alabama. I mean, obviously Washington's had a good chunk of Alabama defensive players in that team. Might as well add another one. A name I'll probably be throwing a lot out there, Chaz Surratt from North Carolina. I really like him in this draft class, and I feel like you can give him a very reasonable spot as of where his rankings show. And then maybe like a LSU Cox linebacker. So I know he's kind of more a little farther back, it looks like, as of right now. So those are just kind of options that I was kind of looking at on that end.
Right.
My other option was kind of looking at maybe a veteran offensive lineman to add. I know they kind of had re-signed a couple guys, and it wasn't as bad as it has been in the past on their offensive line. There's nothing really that just stands out other than Sheriff on the right side. Moses is pretty. I mean, I feel like the right side with Sheriff and Moses is good enough. Obviously, kind of looking at the left. I was kind of looking at. I just thought would be just a good veteran ad, which got traded, so it doesn't matter. Was to go after Rodney Hudson since the Raiders were looking to move him. And I thought that was going to be a good addition to the team. So scratch it off. Going to the next. I'm just kind of looking at guys that maybe are cap casualties. What this one is. What if they brought in Eric Fisher? Playoff kind of caliber guy. I know obviously the injuries, but I think they're in a position that they could take a shot on him. Kind of just give it a go. It would not hurt the football team to try that.
Right.
And that was just kind of my third kind of thing, is just maybe just kind of just find a veteran guy that maybe was a cap casualty offensive lineman just to add to the team. I know they're not going to go out there and swing big and get someone, one of the big. I mean, a lot of the big name offensive linemen are off the books already. So at this point, I mean, Washington has a lot of cap space, so you know what? I think it would be kind of worth it for them to just give it a try. Give them a year or two, just give them some good money just to get them in there for sure. Doesn't work, you move on. So my final point for the football team, I feel like obviously with the defense being so solid, it made it easy, is the focus was on offense. Oh, actually, I forgot one point on my offensive weapon. I do like Gibson, but middle round running backs do not. I mean, as you got Gibson, do it again, swing again, because I mean McKisnick and Barber just aren't as explosive as you might want. I like Bryce Love, but I mean, since the injury, we haven't seen if there is a pro potential. So I would really like one of the UNC running backs here. Either one, pick them, Carter or Williams. I think either option would be kind of fun to add to Gibson, because I mean, Gibson showed he's a good receiving back, and I mean, if you want to, just go get his old running mate Gainwell from Memphis as well. He'll be there.
Did they not add back? I thought they signed somebody today.
They might have. There's been so many. I keep trying to refresh it, but it keeps crashing on me. So I've kind of
Lamar. Did they bring Lamar Miller?
Lamar Miller back. Yeah, they did.
I think they brought Lamar Miller back, but
that doesn't matter. Go get another running back. It does not hurt.
No, if it's you can never have too many that are cheap.
Oh yeah, Ramondre Stevenson from Oklahoma, Jarrett Patterson, I would think might kind of be kind of fun for them. Trey Sermon, I mean, just this. I
don't understand why he's not getting mocked higher.
Yeah,
I don't get it. I really don't. I love Trey Sermon.
Add him with Gibson, that'd be a great combo at running back.
Yeah.
And then, so now the final point. the biggest point is the QB position, which is an absolute strange spot where they are. You're not going to get someone in the draft, in the first round, I should say, because at this point we all know that someone's taking Mac Jones is going to go higher. It kind of, I guess, goes on, where do you fall on Kyle Trask, which is
right.
I don't know.
I'm so mixed on him now.
I as well. I mean, I don't know if this is the right fit. I don't know if I would want to say that, so that's why I was pushing on a wide receiver in the first round regardless.
Right.
Right now, because of what they're kind of doing, is as much as Ron Rivera likes Kyle Allen, he just needs to be off this roster. He does not need to be hanging around anymore. Baby Ron thinks he can give him another start. No. We got Fitzpatrick in there for a year, the ultimate gap quarterback. You know, they're hanging around with Heineke just to see if there's a potential, which I think he could have a nice long backup career, fill in when needed and do well enough. But obviously there's no one out there right now. And I'm split on a Jamie Newman. Not sure, because I know everyone's so split on him because we didn't see him this year. He had a rough Senior Bowl, but he didn't play all year, so then he had to go out in the Senior Bowl, and I didn't think it was as bad as people made it out to be. It wasn't good. I won't say that, but I still think there's potential there, but it's just a weird spot too, because it's not like Washington could give him 2-3 years. I mean, you're probably going to want him after this season. Can you get him ready that fast? Can you get him ready in a year? Because at the same point, you can't wait another year, and we'll just wait till the next quarterback, the next draft. Well, you're going to be in a very similar position. I'm not going to necessarily say, yep, Washington's going to win the division again, because no one does that in the NFC East, but no one's back-to-back, I should say. But, I mean, even if they don't win, they're going to end up in this team draft pick, and once again, you're not getting that top 2-3 quarterback.
Right.
So, who do you like that you think you can develop? I'd just say take that shot now. A name that I guess I just also don't know how much I can trust Washington on developing a quarterback. I know it's a different coaching staff, but it's Washington and quarterbacks.
Yeah. You
could take a swing and hope you can figure out Mitch Trubisky. And not pressure on starting this first year, but that still doesn't make me feel comfortable. So right now, I'm saying draft Jamie Newman in the second.
That's so risky too.
I know.
It's so risky.
It doesn't make me feel great.
No. That's what it is, though, you know.
But that's where I was I was stuck on. I was like, well, okay, next year, kind of look at the quarterbacks, and I was like, wait a minute, they're going to be in the same position, because you're not going to get Slovis, you're not going to get Howell, you're not going to get that whatever, I was looking at quarterbacks, but I was like, I don't see any of those guys going in the teens. It's going to happen is if you need a quarterback, they're going in the top 10.
Yeah, and I think it's really only Slovis and Howell. I mean, there's always the possibility of a Joe Burrow situation where somebody just comes out of nowhere. But I mean, not out of nowhere. That's disrespectful to Burrow. But I mean, he was not going to be a first rounder.
No, and I mean, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I looked at it, and like you said, past Slovis and Howell, at this moment, I don't think I could say, oh yeah, don't worry, that guy could be there. I don't know if like you said, I need to see these quarterbacks past Slovis and Howell.
Well, and I don't even know. I don't know if not trying to get a quarterback and just kind of tanking this season. I don't know if Slovis or Howard's worth that. I really don't.
They're not going to tank, obviously, as they should.
No.
I mean, what do you think? Spencer Rattler's going to go draft? Brock Purdy, Tanner Morgan.
I mean, but
Bo Nix.
Oh, yeah. That's gonna be a rough class, probably.
Mm-hmm. So that's the football team. That is where I will leave it at.
Well, now we'll go to the nation's football team.
Them boys.
At what point do we call it? They're not America's team anymore. Come on, I don't know. But anyways, I guess I'll kind of do what you did and go from least important to most important. Least important now is to sign Dak because good job.
You did it finally, but you cost yourself what, $10 million a year?
Right. Yeah. That was the big thing. They finally got it done. Something that's not actually on my kind of list of 5 that I like to do is get rid of Zeke. Look, he's just eating up too much. He's eating up too much cap, man. It's just he's one of the prime examples. I mean, obviously Le'Veon Bell was probably the worst, but he's one of the prime examples of the theory of just don't pay running backs anymore. He hadn't been anything like he's been in a couple of seasons. I feel like, last year you can blame it on the offensive line, the fact that he didn't have great quarterback play to back him up. But if he doesn't show flashes of previous Zeke this season, I think you have to find a way to get him off of your books because he is just eating way too much cap space when you have a guy behind him in Tony Pollard that I feel like I can argue is just almost as talented as him, not as talented, but produces almost as much as him when he's on the field. And it's probably I imagine Tony Pollard is making less than $2 million a year. I'm sure he is. There's no way. Yeah. So I don't know. Just at some point, I think you have to consider that. And if he didn't produce this year, I think they need to get that done next offseason. But that's not this offseason. I'll start with my first thing. And my first thing is another thing that I feel like you potentially don't really need to take care of this offseason. It's not as pressing. It's not as urgent. But I think it needs to be in the back of their minds. And that's tight end. I don't hate the combo of Jarwin and Schultz going into this season. If it's not feasible for the Cowboys to try to find a long-term situation this year, I think that's already kind of might be out of the picture because a lot of these guys that I would have wanted to say, such as a Hunter Henry maybe or a Gerald Everett on the lower end, or even if they wanted to spend the money, Jonnu, they wouldn't want to spend that kind of money, but those types of guys are gone. I don't know if you necessarily want to try to take a risk and replace them with with older guys such as Kyle Rudolph or a Jared Cook or an Eifert who's kind of injury prone. And then I'm not huge on the tight end class in general myself this year, but also I think those top guys that you'd be willing to take shots on early, that they won't be in reach for them because they have other pressing matters.
Oh.
No, I'm just saying they have other pressing matters that they have to take. They don't need to be taking spending a second round pick on they have other things they need to get, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You don't think they'll reach and go, let's go Kyle Pitts and make that offense crazy?
No, I wouldn't. I think if you do that, you're accepting that you're going to have what they started to have at the beginning of last season, where you score 40 points, but the other team scores 41. Because we saw that happening when Dak was healthy. He was in these shootout games that he's playing his ass off, but the defense can't stop a soul. And he might win one, he might not. But at the end of the day, when you might win one and you might not, that results in an 8-8 or worse season.
Yeah.
He can't be expected to do it by himself on the offense. So I think you have to use those early picks, which I'll get into here in a second. But you have to use those to try to help him out on the other side of the ball. But with tight end, I mean, I feel like I don't think that Dak necessarily needs one of these super athletic top tier guys like Kelsey, Kittle, or Waller, but I think he needs more of a Greg Olsen, Jason Witten, Mark Andrews type of guy that's just kind of a reliable pass catcher that brings some blocking, but is gonna when you need him on third down, he's gonna catch the ball. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He doesn't need to put up flashy numbers, but I just don't feel like Blake Jarwin is that guy. I think Blake Jarwin would be one of the best second-tier tight ends, like a second tight end for any team. He'd be an incredible second tight end, but he's just not the guy long-term for Dak. But that can be addressed at a different time. The next thing that I do think they need to address is offensive line depth. This is going to be all about their draft probably. They have some injury-prone guys that were, it was clear last year that they needed reliable backups, right? Because Tyron goes down, Zach Martin goes down. You can't have the offensive the ball just stop. They have to still be able to pass. They have to still be able to run. Dak has to be kept off the dirt. You got to get some line depth. I'm not going to go into like 5th, 6th, 7th round guys, but they've got to look at that in the draft just to. And also some of these guys are getting old. Tyron Smith's getting up there in age, Yeah. But I think most importantly, they just don't need to spend a lot of money, but they got to get somebody that's reliable to back up those guys. So my next thing is going to be defensive tackle. Currently, they have Tristan Hill, Antoine Woods, and Gallimore for their interior D-line. I think they could easily find someone in the 2nd or 3rd round to bolster that. But I like them to sign a veteran maybe instead, maybe like a Kawan Short leaving from Carolina or something like that. If they did choose to go with the draft, I like the idea of them taking a shot on Marvin Wilson from Florida State. I don't hate Marvin Wilson because I think low-end Marvin Wilson becomes a good nose tackle, a good run-stuffing nose tackle in the NFL, which is something they need. Mm-hmm. Top end, some of that athleticism that he was supposed to have, that he just kind of had a disappointing year. I mean, if we're going to be honest, before the season-ending injury, but he had a disappointing year, and he didn't show that pass rush ability that was supposed to be there. But on the flip side, that he possibly has it, and you get him in the 3rd round or maybe the end of the 2nd, hey, look, you got a steal there. But at the very least, I think he'll be a good run-stopping nose tackle, and I think that's something they need. So, but definitely need a defensive tackle. Next, and this is pretty important, I think. Some people might not, but to me, offensive line, it is to me. They need a center. They need a starting center. Ever since Travis Frederick left, there's kind of been a clear hole in the center of that O-line that can really make or break the Cowboys' run game with Zeke. And I think if we're going to try to get Zeke back on track next year, they have to have that presence in the center that can be a leader. And I think you could go for a veteran free agent, but I actually like what they did all those years ago building through the draft with that offensive line. Now, obviously, I'm not saying they go spend their the number 10 pick on a center, right? Yeah. But I think there's guys like Creed Humphrey from OU. There's been some buzz that he might be in the back half of the 1st. I don't know. I think there's a possibility they could get him in the 2nd, and I would love that. If they can't, look for a Landon Dickerson, who got hurt from Alabama this year, but I think he can drop in the 3rd round or maybe lower, and I think he would be a great piece for them. I just like them building the same way they had originally, now with Dak in place, on that offensive line, build through the trenches, because I honestly do think that wins you football games. It just didn't work out with Romo, but I think it can work out with Dak. So, and then the most important thing for me with them is the secondary. This could honestly probably be split up into 2 sections with corner and safety, but just so that I could get everything in there, I just went ahead and bundled it up into secondary. I think the 10th pick in your draft, you're in prime position to get one of those top corners. Whether it's Surtain from Bama or Caleb Farley from Virginia Tech. I'm partial to Farley personally, but with his ability to cover down the field, I like. But I really like the idea of Surtain and Diggs both being Cowboys. I just like the idea of bringing them together. I think the unknown with Farley not playing football for a year due to him opting out with COVID is something that you may worry about a little bit. I'm not worried about it, but I get it because with Surtain, you know what you're getting. He played. He has the ability still to cover downfield. He can play that man-to-man defense. I like him with Diggs. I honestly feel like you can't miss with either one of those guys, but I think they have to go corner right there, especially after they lost to Wouzier, because they're going to be hurting there if they don't. And then as far as safety, I think they can, of course, look in the draft as well for that. But I actually like the options of some of the free agency guys that are out there still. I think Anthony Harris would be fantastic for them. Okay. He has been one of the most underrated coverage safety in the league for a couple of years now. And I think bringing him in on not necessarily the biggest deal of all time, but something that is reasonable, that'll have him there for a few years, at least 3. Most of these guys are taking 2 to 3 year deals right now just because of the way the cap is. But if you could bring him in for 2 to 3 years, I think he could really help that defensive back group tremendously in the passing game, because he's such a surefire. He's not going to blow the coverages over the top like they've been having for years now. I really like the idea of bringing Anthony Harris in there to help out that DB room, because God knows they need it.
Yeah, that's fair. I was just, I don't know if he had signed. Obviously, you said the Cheeto. They did bring back their nickel, Jordan Lewis, on a 3-year deal.
Yeah, and I like Jordan Lewis, but that's not necessarily where they're getting killed, right? They're getting killed deep down the field, and they gotta get a. That's one of the reasons I actually liked Farley for them, because is it Fairley or Farley? I've always said Farley. Farley?
I thought that's what it was.
Yeah, to me, I thought it was. I heard someone say Fairley the other day, and I was like, wait a second, I've been saying this wrong the whole time. But anyways, that's one of the reasons I do like the idea of Farley for them too, though, because I feel like Farley is much better in that Richard Sherman style defense, where he can really cover the deep half by himself if he needs to. He doesn't have to worry about over the top coverage with some cover 4 and stuff like that. I just like the idea of Surtain and Diggs. I think that would be cool.
I guess maybe I'm kind of leaning that way. I feel like I'd pick Farley as if you ask me, but you're like, oh, that'd be kind of bring back the just last year corners.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, Diggs was one of these top end corners from last year, but really when he was there and when Surtain and Diggs were together, Surtain was covering the top guys even when Diggs was there for Alabama. Yep. He was always the better corner of the two. So I like the idea of bringing both those guys back and I don't know, just bringing the gang back together,
Familiarity.
Yeah.
All right, well, we will then regroup with the Eagles and the Giants, and I don't know if you had saw somewhat ish recently. It looks like there's mutual interest of Galladay and Giants, so I don't know if that.
Yeah, it's gonna shake my stuff up a little bit, but we'll talk about it.
Actually happens, but we'll see. We'll get the break going. I'll jump in with the Eagles, and we'll keep an eye on maybe some more moves. We'll be right back.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money. And we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag. Visit the sportsbook. Click on your bet and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Change your game with the all-new Pro Rock Hockey Stick. A Canadian company providing a top-of-the-line twig at an affordable price. Pro Rock Sticks are extremely lightweight, balanced, and provide the perfect kick point. Get your fully customized stick today at ProRock.com. Play like a Pro Rock.
And we are back, and I'm sitting here trying to refresh, make sure nothing happens while we in commercial break, going into the rest of the NFC East offseason preview here. Something I didn't even think of. If you notice, obviously Kyle Van Noy is going back to the Patriots. However, Kyle Van Noy went to Miami from the Patriots, who are getting a 4th-round comp pick because of that, and then they're re-signing him. So, kind of interesting on that end. Of course, Bill Belichick always able to maneuver there and get some extra picks like he always does, and Patriots always have plenty in every draft. So I just thought that was kind of interesting to go along with, of course, all their other free agent signings. So we'll just jump right back into it. And I have the Eagles, and the Eagles here were a mess. Just with this whole offseason already, the whole Wentz ordeal, just then add in Peterson, getting fired, and I guess not trust in Howie Roseman up top. This was all over the place here. So I'm just going to start with, I guess, I'm going to flip. I know we said the opposite, but this is the most important. Get the cap situation now. This is 1A, 1B here. So cap situation fixed. Now, obviously, Jeffrey and Jackson are getting cut. Because obviously right now they're in the negative cap with that. I believe that pushes them kind of around in the better spot. So it's kind of just, let's see what else we can restructure. What other contracts can we restructure? Anyone else we can cut in addition? Maybe Maddox. I had someone else listed. For some reason, I guess I lost that. But just see where else you can restructure. I know they kind of extended Graham. I think they kind of reworked the money there. Anyone else you can maybe, I know obviously if they can get Ertz moved, that will help too on the money. They already obviously got Jackson off the book early on. So it's just kind of 1A, rework as many contracts as you can, do what Saints do, and just kind of manipulate that cap, get you some space so you can kind of make some of those moves there in free agency, and kind of add there, because you at least have Slay there, so at least you're not completely blown up on the defensive backs.
Right. By the way, Dom.
Yeah.
What was I screaming for last year? For them to trade Ertz while they could.
Yep.
His value is going to decrease. I knew it. They had a really good tight end. I said so much that I thought now I'm blanking on his name. Goddard. That I thought Goddard would be not only a serviceable tight end, but one of the better tight ends in the NFL. And they had room to trade him while his value is still high, and I feel like they've missed their opportunity now.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to get the value out of him that they could.
Now they're just going to find someone that will take his salary on.
Yeah.
Or cut him.
Yeah, it's a damn shame.
Yeah. So there you go. Number one, fix the cap. I mean, they've moved closer last I saw, and that was before some of the other moves. So at this point, they'll be fine. They'll be in an ability to make some minor moves, which made this a lot tougher though. So for the Eagles, it's a lot of just kind of digging around on some cheaper free agents, and going to my point 1B though, just build around Jalen Hurts. I think we have seen and heard now a commitment to him, because there were so many mock drafts that had the Eagles still taking a quarterback, which I know obviously that's not necessarily going off of inside sources on a lot of these drafts. It's just what people think they should do. And at this point, you've burnt so much draft capital, and I thought Hurts showed sparks and showed potential. He's obviously not going to be your top end, high ceiling guy, but he can be that top. He can make it into the top 15, and I know obviously it's all quarterbacks win Super Bowls, but you still see the guys that aren't. You see Aaron Rodgers has 1 Super Bowl, Peyton Manning has 2. You saw Drew Brees had 1. Like, you
should have had way more than 1.
Yeah. So you know what? Tom Brady just going to grab all the Super Bowls. So you know what? Don't always necessarily look at that and think of just that. You need that top half quarterback and have a great team around him. Because if you don't, then you're going to have something that is amazing, like the Baltimore defenses of the past, if you want to carry Trent Dilfer to a Super Bowl ring. You just have a magical Joe Flacco elite, quote unquote elite season just out of nowhere.
He's elite, Dom. He was elite.
you just have that. I mean, but he was playing as a top 15 quarterback when they won a Super Bowl. So you just need that, and then the right pieces around. So it's build around Jalen Hurts. That's a point in its own. It is literally just build around Jalen Hurts. Give him the full trust. You're not going to stab him in the back like
trust.
Big trust. Yeah, they didn't get Ingram, but you know what? You need to build that big trust around him. No, but and get that team. But it's show the full support, and you don't stab him in the back like you just did to Carson Wentz. You don't draft a quarterback right up there in the first, second round.
Right. By the way, sidebar real quick. You said top 15 quarterback. That reminded me. I heard someone say today that Teddy Bridgewater is undoubtedly a top 15 quarterback in the league.
Ooh.
I don't know about that, Chief. How do you feel about that?
He falls in the 16 to 20 range.
Yes, that's exactly. I was like, I will accept anyone saying he's top 20. I'm comfortable with that. But to say, because their thing was in the top half he's the top half quarterbacks in the league. So I guess technically that means top 16. But I'm not comfortable putting him at 16.
Yeah, off the top of my head, maybe 16 is probably the top end. I love some Teddy Two Gloves, but I also really think Trey Lance would be a great fit in Carolina.
Yeah. Also, we're going to see that. I mean, there's a new sheriff in town. We're going to have a new top 10 quarterback next year in Mr. Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
He's coming back, baby. Revenge tour begins.
He's going to eat all the W's in New Orleans.
Sir.
But, yeah. Jalen Hurts can be a top 15 quarterback.
I think he can.
He can. Yeah. And that's what you need. So build around him. Give him a full support. You don't even mess with these top quarterbacks. If anything, you only are doing it to try to maybe trade back and get some more capital. However, 0.3 or 2, whatever you want to do, since I did 1A, 1B, you don't miss on Chase or Devontae Smith. I think at this point, I think you need to just grab one of those two because you need it, and you've messed around on receiver. And the rumor that came out not long ago that last year they were going to get Justin Jefferson. He was on everyone's board higher, and they just decided to go with, or Howie just said, let's go with Rager. Not saying that I still like Rager. I still think he'll still be a good player, but they had Justin Jefferson there, ranked higher and in position to take him, and they just didn't follow their scouting and ranking and just switched it up, and you can't do that. You can't go against everything you just set yourself up to, and you were in position to get the guy you had set up. So I still think Jalen Rager will be a very good player, but if you can, you don't miss on Chase or Devontae Smith.
Yep.
Yeah, that, Rager, and Goddard, Miles Sanders stays healthy. That's a solid team. You are building a solid team around. The O-line, when healthy, is actually good. Last year it wasn't healthy. I think Dillard will be a good left tackle. Obviously, Lane Johnson has shown that if he stays healthy, you have Jason Kelce sticking around. Brandon Brooks, I mean, you just maybe need to add some depth in the draft, I think, because I don't think they really can spend much money on that, but you have a potential to build that around Hurts. So do that by not missing on Chase or Smith, especially if Chase is in position. If you pass on an LSU receiver again, come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't do that again. If Chase is there, if you have somehow both are there, you just take Chase because you can't pass an LSU receiver twice because that you just don't.
Yeah.
So, my next kind of back end here is I guess the rest of the points all kind of just merged together. It's just kind of, you don't have a lot of cap, so here's a list of guys to look at and see if you can get cheaper or kind of work your way in the cap. And this will focus all on the defensive end. I think draft options, mid kind of guys. Chaz Surratt again, throwing his name out there. Potentially maybe a Bolton from Missouri. I know he's kind of rising on some boards. I really like Xavier Collins, but I don't think he'll be in a position they can get him. I say that because my thought is, I feel like one thing I always think of the Eagles is a lot of penalties. I don't know if that's actually a true ranking. I don't know if you saw the thing, though. Xavier Collins had no penalties all last year. I think of
Fairweather fans.
Yeah.
Was that a shot?
I don't remember. No, I just can't say what the Eagles' penalty ranking was last year.
Yeah.
But I think it might have been his whole career for Collins had no college penalties. But anyways, just someone like that would be a great addition. I don't know if he'll be in potential. That's why I kind of looked at Bolton Sherratt. I'm thinking maybe on the corners, you obviously have Slay. And I think you can maybe try to find a veteran guy who's cut. You can maybe get on the cheaper end. I haven't seen the markets yet for Boye, Norman, and Rhodes, but you know what? You don't have a lot of money. You could at least take a one-year flyer on one of those guys. That was kind of my corner look at. And then I was looking at maybe signing like a kind of lower-end Rashad Higgins to that wide receiver depth, but he just went back to the Browns. But kind of was thinking in that range, just someone that would add the depth. I really like Greg Ward Jr. as well, but I think just having one more guy in that receiver room, kind of that veteran guy, would be bad. I don't know, the Lions didn't re-sign Amendola. I don't think he went anywhere. Just someone like that, just a veteran guy, just to be there just in case, since it's not like injuries on the whole team have been an issue, for Philly. And then kind of looking at just some linebacker depth, like I said with the draft. I don't know if they could get I know Perryman already signed, but Whitehead, Te'o kind of, or the Jets Raven you mentioned. I don't know if they have that kind of room. I saw Josh Bynes, who was just kind of a journeyman guy, was actually connected. Will be interesting. And then maybe last one is to kind of take a shot at getting, there's two names here, younger guys. I don't think they will be able to. This kind of goes back to the corner, but maybe Adoree Jackson. That would at least be on the younger end. He just didn't have a opportunity to get playing time. And then my last one is for safety. I know it's injury. He's been hit with injuries a lot, but Malik Hooker, familiar with your coach, just take the shot, bring him in.
Yeah. That's been a damn shame for me with him is all his injuries, because anytime he plays, he's been really good. Just I don't know, he just can't keep it up there. He can't stay healthy.
At this point, you know what? Take the shot, try to get him.
Yeah.
Like I said, if he's healthy, it's exciting to watch.
Yeah. Turnover machine.
All right, well, I'll turn it over
to the G-Men.
The G-Men.
All right. So my first thing is going to be a solid backup running back. Sadly, it's a broken clock every year. Saquon goes down, and I think at the end of the day, you got to have someone reliable to be there, and I think they can find that in the middle to the back half of the draft, to be completely honest, this year.
Oh, yeah,
I think
class.
Yeah, the running back draft class this year, I feel like it's not being talked about enough, because there's not like a bunch of quote-unquote first-round guys, like you'd say, but like it's stacked. Like, I'm looking at it, and I think you can get Trey Sermon in the second day.
Yeah.
Easily. Maybe the third day. I doubt it, but second day for sure. And then I think Chuba Hubbard you can get late second day, maybe the third day. And then someone that I think you could get towards the end of the draft, who I think is going to be a steal, personally, is Puka Williams from KU.
Oh,
I really like Puka. What'd you say?
Oh, I was going to say, I thought you were, for some reason, going Kylan Hill.
No, I think he'll go a little bit higher than Puka, probably. Okay. I like him, too.
Puka, that's true.
Yeah, I like him, too, though. But there's just, there's some of these guys, like, I don't know. I watched Puka his freshman year, especially. He was incredible at Kansas. And let's, not forget, he was playing at Kansas. He doesn't have the best blocking in the world there. And it seems like, based on some of the things that have come out about that coach, it probably is a little bit a little hectic around that place. So I really like the athleticism and the ability that Puka brings to the table being probably a back end of the draft guy. But yeah, I think they really. I also like Rakeem Boyd. That'd be a little higher up, but I like Rakeem Boyd out of Arkansas as well. But I just think they really need to find somebody, draft especially because they'll be on that rookie contract. But they really need to find someone that's going to be a solid running back behind what will most likely be an injury. I love Saquon. I think he's incredibly talented, but end of the day, he gets hurt every year. It just happens every year like clockwork. And they really need somebody, instead of scrambling and having to go free agency to the guys like Devontae Freeman, who I loved Devontae Freeman. I loved them for him this year. I thought he was a very serviceable guy, but you don't need to be scrambling in the middle of the season trying different 30-year-old and up running backs to figure out which one works. You need somebody ready to go, and they don't have that right now. And I think they really need to look in the draft for that. So this next thing, this is going to be the kind of beginning of a trend you'll see for the next few, where I'm going to say that they both need to address this in free agency and the draft in order to fill out that roster a little bit more to be competitive. So the next is going to be an interior defensive lineman to replace Dalvin Tomlinson, who they just lost, who is sneaky, been one of the better run stuffers in the NFL for a while, someone they really brought up because I want to say he was like a third or fourth rounder for them, maybe later out of Bama, but he's been really good. I think if you're going to spend a little money on some other positions, which I will talk about, I think you need to draft interior line or go with a cheaper vet. Some of the guys, I would like to see them bring back Snacks Harrison. I think that'd be cool. He might be a little over the hill for that, but I don't care. I think it'd be cool. And then somebody else, I like Nunez Roches out of Tampa Bay, who I think did a really good job last year replacing Vita Vea while he was out. I think he's a good run stuffer. He wasn't, he didn't get a lot of the stars or a lot of the attention in Tampa Bay with Devin White and Levante David there. And then those pass rushers, but he did a really serviceable job, and I think he's someone who's going to sign for not a lot of money, but will be a really important piece for somebody, and I think the Giants would do well to take a look at him. And then, of course, there's plenty of dudes. I won't get into all of them because we don't have a ton of time, but there's plenty of guys that they can look into the draft at. Like I said, they could also look at Marvin Wilson, who, like I said, at the very least, I think he's going to be a good nose tackle, run stuffer, and that's definitely what they need. So next is linebacker. Right now all they have is Blake Martinez, who I like, and I talked about last year a lot in our offseason stuff, that he is overlooked because he's not athletic, but he's a tackling machine. He's a downhill thumper. I really like him, and I don't want to get rid of him, and I want to build around him a little bit. And I think one of the ways you build around him is you bring in someone from free agency who has some sideline-to-sideline speed to help him out on the backside where he's not as talented. And I think a perfect fit for them would actually be a former Saint now in Quan Alexander. He's someone who can cover some of the pass game, has great sideline speed, great athleticism, can really cover those holes that Blake Martinez has. And then I think, of course, they should also look for some more depth in the draft. I didn't look up a ton of names for this, but there's definitely guys in the third or fourth round that I think could be serviceable for them in those positions. So the next thing is a corner. This one's pretty important for me. I think with another crew that I'll talk about later that they have, I think this DB group is good. I think they're almost there, but they're missing one more guy. The DB group right now consists of Bradbury, Peppers, Logan Ryan, Xavier McKinney, Julian Love, all really good guys, but I think they're missing that main corner because Bradbury is just not a number one for me. I would love for them to go out to free agency and try a guy that just got cut. He's been one of the best corners, top 5 corner really in my mind for the past 2 or 3 years probably, maybe a little bit longer, and Casey Hayward with the Chargers. Literally just got cut, had an injury last season that took some time away. When he did play last season, he had a little bit of a down year, but I don't think he's done by any means. I think Casey Hayward, who's probably 31, 32, I think he's still got plenty of good football left in him. He might only be 29, but I think he's got plenty of good football left in him, and I think he's someone that will not necessarily get the biggest bag in the world because of his last season, but I think he'll still be a serviceable corner who can cover the number ones. I like him with that DB group there, and I think when you bring in someone like him, or maybe a Richard Sherman or something like, give them a little edge with Richard Sherman. I think you turn that DB group into not just a good DB group, but a top to bottom one of the better ones in the NFL. I really like that core. I think they just need that guy who's going to cover the number ones for them, and I think you should also still pair that with somebody from the draft, because you're probably going to be looking at an older veteran corner that's not going to be there for very long, so you'll need someone to be bringing along as well. But I really like the idea of bringing Casey Hayward in. I think that would help the Chargers a lot. I hope the Saints get Casey Hayward personally, but I like him for other teams as well, especially the Giants.
He's 31.
31. Okay.
But I still agree. I wouldn't.
Oh yeah.
That wouldn't
I think
change
he's still got plenty of good football.
Yeah.
So then the most important thing for me, which is probably the most important thing with the Eagles as well, wide receiver. But again, with their corner group, I don't hate this wide receiver core that they already have. They have Shepard. They have Slayton, Pettis. They added John Ross. They lose Golden Tate. That's fine. He's garbage. But
he didn't really necessarily get along with Joe Judge either.
No, he did not. But you have an opportunity, and look, maybe this is kind of where it gets a little tricky with me, where maybe they get y'all's Galladay. Maybe they get Galladay and this changes a little bit, and they don't look at wide receiver with that number one pick. Maybe they try to get one of the top corners, which would be great. I think that would be great. But, and I guess then you're kind of flipping what I'm saying. I'm saying spend the money on the corner, but then they spend the money on the wide receiver and draft the corner. But, which either way is fine. But I like the idea, because I think at that number 11 pick, you're going to have an opportunity at one of the big three. Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase will probably be off the board. Maybe Devontae Smith too. But I think definitely at least Jalen Waddle's going to be there. One of those three guys is going to be there left on the board, and I think you have to take them. And I think the second you take them and you're looking at Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Anthony Pettis, John Ross as, 2, 3, 4, and 5th wide receiver, that turns into a very good wide receiver class. A very good wide receiver room, I mean.
They just need that one.
Yeah, they need that one guy who's the go-to guy, and then you pair that with a up and down, but potentially, if he can stay healthy, Evan Ingram at tight end, I think you really got something there.
Yeah.
And you really give Daniel Jones something to throw to, and I think that offensive line, I think Andrew Thomas is going to come along. They bring back Nate Soldier, who if he can play a little bit better. They had that other right tackle that they drafted last year, Hernandez. They have a good young offensive line that is slowly coming to, and I think you pair that with these wide receivers, and potentially if you can keep Saquon, I think they become a competitive team, especially in the NFC East, really fast if they can just fill a couple of those holes and add some depth like this wide receiver. And I think they become really dangerous, and if they can keep Saquon healthy, I think they might dominate the NFC East if they could keep Saquon healthy, because that defense is already almost there. It really is. They had a good defense last year. I think they're almost there, and give Daniel Jones the things he needs, and I really like the Giants going forward.
The NFC East right there. So we'll obviously keep an eye on free agency as it keeps on moving and we keep on seeing things happen. And like I said, will they pivot on your plan there? And if they go with the Galladay, do they then switch it up to corner there? Because that would be interesting, because they could be looking at a Surtain or Farley then in that position.
Then you pair Surtain with McKinney. McKinney, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Bring back the crew.
Yeah, see, so it's matching up somewhere.
Yeah.
Look, so pretty much what we're thinking is Surtain's going to go back and play with another teammate.
He's going to play with some other Bama player.
He's playing with another Bama player. But that's a good odds no matter where you go, especially on defense.
That's true.
So that is our NFC East off-season preview. We might be double dipping here next week.
Yeah. Glad to be back.
We got Randall back. Definitely had to have you back here. So we'll catch y'all next week. Here, always feel free to follow us on Twitter. We talk sports good. We'll see you next week, and have a great rest of your night.
Uh-huh.